Hey, it's Sam, and today on the Magic with Gadgets podcast, we are talking about what the Nokia mobile phones have in common with the Ninja Foodi. So, I mentioned Nokia versus Ninja Foodi, and if you're watching this in the video format, you could be able to see my Ninja Foodies are behind me. Behind me, if I look across like that, you can see the Speedy. If not, in your vision behind me is also the Ninja Foodi 15-in-1 and the Ninja Foodi 9-in-1. And what's interesting here is the difference between them is one is an older model of the other one. I used to find it really confusing because I used to always just say Ninja Foodi. And then people would email me and say, I have the 9-in-1, I have the 15-in-1, I have the 14-in-1. I'd end up Googling which it was so that I could figure out what settings it had before I actually upgraded myself. So right now for multi-cookers in my kitchen, I have got those that you see behind me. So I've got the Ninja Foodies 15 and 9-in-1, and then I've also got the Ninja Speedy. And then beyond that, I've also got an Instant Pot version, which is more like the 9-in-1. So it air fries, it slow cooks, it's soup, it's a slow cooker, it makes you soup, yogurt, the usual ones. But where does the phone comparison come from? So I was watching this TV show on Netflix with the husband, with Dom. And then Kyle normally comes in and says, when the kids are in bed and we're watching a drama, he says, oh, you're watching another serial killer show. We seriously don't watch all the serial killer shows. We do have some in our list because there has been some new ones done, but we don't just watch TV about serial killers. But we do watch a mixture of things on Netflix. It's more the dramas. I'm not really into reality TV that much. We haven't watched much British TV in quite a long time, really. Because when we lived in Portugal, we couldn't get it for such a long time, so we got used to just having Netflix. So, you know, we have Netflix, Amazon Prime, and then we rotate Disney and Paramount. If we want to watch something on there, we want to get our money's worth there, so we stack up a few programs and then do it. But what about the Nokia then? So we were watching this documentary. I think it was on Netflix. It was a while ago we watched it. And it was about the rise and fall of the Blackberry. I mean, who didn't have a Blackberry? I got one. I absolutely hated it. I absolutely detested it. I got one in Portugal when we lived there, and it was because I liked the idea of being able to record messages on Notepad, because I've always got a to-do list of recipes I'm doing or work I've got planned, and everything nowadays on my phone, tablet, and my laptop, everything's on Google Docs, so I can easily, if I'm writing a shopping list down, I can continue it with no matter which device I'm on. So the Blackberry at the time felt like a good idea, but I've got quite fat fingers, would you say, or would you call them thin fingers? But I used to always hate it because I'd missed the wrong digit when I was using the Blackberry, and I was just terrible on it. And I think I lasted about 2 months on it. But the show very much went about the rise and the fall of the Blackberry, how everyone jumped on it, and then when the iPhone came along, people weren't interested anymore. But I think it's the same with the Ninja Foodies. And the same goes for the air fryers, the slow cookers, and even the microwave. You know, we have to have that first one to come out, and which is, most of us probably had as our first mobile phone. Well, most of us over the age of 35 anyway, had for our very first phone the Nokia. I thought the Nokia was brilliant. My dad had a Nokia long before I got a phone. I think he first had the Nokia when I was about 13, or I could have been slightly younger, I'm not sure. So that would have been 30 years ago, because I'm 43 now. And it didn't send text messages, it just rang, and you could play Snake on it. So I played lots of Snake on it like a teenager would. And then when I went out, I loved it on holiday because he would have his Nokia phone with him and I would ring him from a payphone and I'd do 5 rings because it cost a fortune from Spain to ring his phone that was technically supposed to be in the UK and back again. So I'd give him so many rings, he knew where to pick me up, and it was just great. And I just loved that first phone. And now you see the Nokia and it just seems so nostalgic, doesn't it? It was just the phone of its time. But if we hadn't have had the Nokia, we wouldn't have moved on, and then more ones came out. I remember Samsungs. I think Dom had a Samsung. I know friends did. I had a Samsung. And it was then you could text message on it, and then the Blackberry came out, and then the iPhones. It was the fascination that you could take photos on your camera. I'm recording this podcast episode for you now using my mobile phone. I find it so much easier. I'm not good with actual proper cameras because of my eyesight, so I just find the phone so much easier, and you've just watched it over time develop. But you could walk into a shop, grab yourself a Nokia, put a SIM card in it, and if you just wanted your Nokia or your phone to make phone calls with, then that's fine. You've saved yourself a small fortune, But if you want all the bells and whistles, you want to be able to take photos, videos, you want the best looking one for the best photos, then you're going to upgrade and you're going to upgrade and you're going to upgrade. I went from, I can't remember what phone I was on before it, but I remember the first iPhone we owned was the iPhone 7. And it was only because we'd started taking photos of recipes for Recipe This, and I wanted to be able to take a decent photo. I struggled too much on Dom's digital camera, and I wanted the independence of taking my own photos. So I was also quite shocked by how expensive the iPhone was. So what I actually did, or what me and Dom did, is we cashed in our old phones. So we got some money back off those, and then we used, my mum and dad had given us some Christmas spending money and then a little bit of money of our own, so it didn't actually cost us much, and we got the iPhone 7 second hand to save even more money. So because I just thought to myself, I'm not paying that amount of money on a phone, so that's what I did. And I just kind of think of all that, of the way the phone has developed over the years, just like how the Ninja Foodies come along. Because you think of that as a story, and it depends on how long ago you jumped on this. But basically for me, I started off, I had the Philips air fryer, so I had my air fryer machine. I then got an Instant Pot Black Friday 2016, so I'd been air frying for 4 years before I got my first electric pressure cooker. And then after that, there was a company, it's gone into liquidation now, it doesn't exist anymore, but even though there's still some cooking pots available, there was Mealthy. And what Mealthy saw is they saw the potential in an Instant Pot and an air fryer in one. So they'd made a lid that you could put on top of the Instant Pot. It didn't work in the UK with the Pressure King Pro, but it worked with a lot of the different brands. So it did a bad job. There's no denying that. It just cooked one little section of the food, and you were constantly turning these baby potatoes to get them crispy everywhere, and it became such an effort, even though it did toast amazing because of how close the heating element was to where your toast was sat. It was absolutely brilliant for toast. So we kind of kept it for a while, but I would never use it. I'd watch Dom do it because it was so hot. I was terrified I was going to burn myself. I was going to burn the kids. But I liked seeing the transformation of the potential of the Instant Pot and the air fryer meeting. And Instant Pot didn't like it. You could tell that they were mad. They banned any mention of it in a lot of their communities and whatnot. But you knew that they were then going to bring something out. So they brought out their own air fryer. They did the air fryer lids. And then at the same time, Ninja Foodi, quietly in the background, working on the Ninja Foodi. And they were bringing it where you had the whole thing in one machine. Never mind a separate lid, but you're all in one. But the downside of it is that you had 2 lids. And the Ninja Foodi is a heavy machine. I wouldn't recommend it for an 80-year-old lady because it's a lot to carry. But it had 2 separate lids. So when you're storing it, you've got to store both lids. And our recipe tester, Sarah, was put off by this, so she didn't actually want one because of that reason. But I was quite happy with it because I loved the idea. I could slow cook, saute, air fry, pressure cook. I could do it all in one. The idea that we hate it with slow cooker recipes when we have to take something to a pan first, to brown it, to then put it in the slow cooker. It was a pain in the ass. Nobody liked doing that. So the idea was that in the Ninja Foodi, you could saute whatever you were cooking. Or if you wanted to make a chicken pie from your chicken stew leftovers, chicken stew, leftover, sat in the fridge, in the cooking pot of the Ninja. And then the next day, give it a quick stir, warm it up a bit, shove pastry on top, air fry it or bake it, and you've got pie from your leftovers. It was just great. And I never really felt the need to upgrade. Just like it took me so long to jump on the iPhone bandwagon. Even though I don't even have an iPhone now, because the iPhone, I got the latest one, and it doesn't have accessibility features anymore. I had serious eye problems trying to use it. So I've gone onto, I think I'm on a Google phone. John will probably know. I don't even know what phone I'm on. It's because I say, he's head of technical, he can deal with that. I'll just write and cook things. So anyway, back to the Ninja. So I never felt the need to upgrade. But more and more of our readers have asked us for recipes on newer Ninjas. So that was the main reason why we upgraded ourselves. So we've gone from the 9-in-1 to the 15-in-1. So we've gained 6 more settings than what we had before. It's still, for using it, it doesn't feel any different. You just got a few more settings that you're learning, and that's it. And the same goes for the Speedy. The Speedy is brilliant, and I love the Speedy because of its shape. It feels more like an air fryer, even though it does all these other things. But it's the fact that they've gone on people's feedback, and that's my point about the Nokia, the Blackberry, and the iPhone. It's all about feedback and realizing what people want and improving it. So, for example, 9-in-1, people hated 2 separate lids. Now it's all in one lid in the 15-in-1. You know, the other thing was that it was how long some things take to cook. So now the 15-in-1 does all the other stuff as well. So, for example, it does the steam meals, it does the steam air fry, the steam bake, the proving, all that other stuff that, you know, is really, really useful. But you just have to decide when you're choosing which one to get, do you need all those bells and whistles, or do you just want to air fry, slow cook, pressure cook and whatnot? You have to decide. But I'm just telling you how it's evolved and how it's gone. I'm not going to get rid of my 9-in-1. I love it. The separate lids irritates me, but apart from that, I don't use steam air fry and steam roast all the time. If I'm honest, my most used is slow cook, air fry, saute, pressure cook. And you find all of those in that one there. So if you're worried about budget, of whether or not you can afford it, then get that one. But if you want to have the probe, steam roast and get all fancy, have that one. You know, it's just personal choice. You know, I think personally that if I wasn't sharing recipes for you, I would just have the 9-in-1. And then if I wasn't sharing recipes for you, I'd probably have the Philips air fryer as well, because the Ninja Foodi, the air fryer area isn't that big, so it would be nice to have 2. Or maybe I would even have the Speedy. I don't know. It's hard to know because I'm always gearing towards you and what you're asking for. And a lot of you have asked recently that there's a lack of quality 15-in-1 and Speedy recipes, and will you show us how to use it? So that's what I'm here for. So I'm getting all geared up. I've been testing like crazy with them for months now, and it's just so nice to finally introduce them to you. And like I say, just think about it with mobile phones. What mobile phone do you have? You know, that's the question, isn't it? If you're watching this on YouTube, comment below and tell me which mobile phone you've got and which multi-cooker you've got, if you've got a multi-cooker, because I think it's a very interesting topic to kind of think about. And I hope you've enjoyed this episode, because I've really enjoyed talking about the difference and how they've evolved over time. Oh, and I know I haven't mentioned the Instant Pot that much. I do have the Instant Pot version of the multi-cooker, which is very similar to the 9-in-1, and I really, really like that one. It's a little bit different. It's like opening a can opener. It's kind of got a lid that comes off and it peels off like you're opening a can of tomatoes. But I do actually really like it. And it's hard to choose a favourite because they do different things. I'd say for smoothness of cooking and being happy and chilled in my kitchen, I'd say I'm really, really loving the Speedy at the moment. But, you know, it's each to our own. We all have pet hates, don't we? We all have things we love about our kitchen gadgets. And we're all different. And, you know, it would be boring if we all had the same brand that did all the same things, wouldn't it? Thanks so much for listening, and you can find us on social media. We're on Facebook, Pinterest, TikTok, and of course Instagram. And you know, you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, or why not head over to KitchenGadgetsClub.com/newsletter and join our weekly newsletter, where we go into detail about all our favourite kitchen gadget recipes, tips, tricks and resources. And a ciao for now.